When Robert Fico, Prime Minister of Slovakia, was shot on 15th of May, Russian propagandists lost no time in spreading the argument, almost in unison, that Ukraine was somehow to blame. Never mind that there was no evidence, never mind that President Zelensky immediately condemned the attack, and never mind that it would ultimately come to light that the assailant had strong links with a pro-Russian party. None of that mattered. What mattered to the propagandists was seizing the opportunity to further undermine Ukraine, a country they hate, and to spread strife and conflict within European societies. However, if we look a little bit deeper, or perhaps at slightly different actors, we start to see something else going on behind this initial wave of disinformation. An attempt to further entrench a narrative that Russia has unfortunately been quite successful with among certain audiences that are receptive to such messages. For example, Leonid Slutsky, the chairman of the Foreign Affairs Select Committee, and also the leader of the misnomered Russian Liberal Democratic Party, blamed not so much Ukraine, but Western hegemony and its efforts to impose a liberal and individualist order for the attack. Florian Philippot, who was a French presidential candidate and is very, very closely linked to the Kremlin, claimed actually that this attack was caused by the recent refusal of Robert Fico to provide ammunition and more broadly weapons to Ukraine. It should be noted an unpopular move which Slovak citizens sought to remedy by raising very quickly $3 million for ammunition for Ukraine. The interesting element here is not so much the arguments, which are of course baseless and untrue, but rather the way that this works, because as the disinformation that was initially used fades from view and probably from memory, the main arguments, such as those put out by Mr. Philippot and Mr. Slutsky, remain. The notion that ultimately Russia and all of those who range against the West are the real victims, that it is they who are in the underdog position, and that it is the West that is ultimately trying anti-democratically to impose its view and its will on the world. And so we see that disinformation may be an interesting and a hot topic, but just as important, perhaps even more important, is to look at the ways that Russia and pro-Russian actors then use this disinformation to re-entrench a worldview in which they are the victim, and the West, alongside Ukraine, is the villain.